Good morning and welcome to Daily Tanya. Today is Thursday, the 25th day of Shevat, and let's begin with tzedakah. So, we're going to finish today the chapter 27, and Alter Rebbe today talks about something very interesting. He says that there is value in delaying kosher gratification, meaning if you want to eat something which is 100% kosher, it's 100% healthy, but there is a value in delaying it. You want to eat it now, you're going to push it off for 5 minutes. Eat it 5 minutes later, and these 5 minutes, study Torah, do something godly. What is the point? What's the point of it? Alter Rebbe brings an example, the story back in the days, they used to have 2 meals. So the Talmud tells us that regular people would eat in the 4th hour of the day from sunrise, and the Talmidei Chachamim, the scholars, the Torah scholars, they would delay their meal 2 hours later. And it's not that they accomplished to study Torah more, because they would study the same amount of time of Torah either before the meal or after the meal. But there was a value in just delaying the meal and at that time to dedicating to Torah. What is the point? So let's back up a little bit. We're talking, the context of this, what the Alter Rebbe is talking is continuing with what is discussed yesterday. The Alter Rebbe in general talks about in this chapters about the importance of serving God with happiness, with joy, and he's addressing different things that may interfere in the happiness. And what we discussed yesterday, that the people have struggles with not good thoughts, negative thoughts, sinful thoughts that enter the mind, and that they feel shame, and that takes away from the happiness. How come I have those thoughts? And Alter Rebbe explained, on the contrary, that God created us the way we are, and we should be happy for having this opportunity when some thoughts enter our mind, and we overcome them, we push them away, because that's a mitzvah. Thereby you're creating a mitzvah. So every time you have a challenge, when some bad thoughts come, and you push it away, you just created a mitzvah. You just performed the mitzvah. You connected with Hashem. So in continuation to this, the Alter Rebbe goes on and says that the value in disciplining is not only when it comes to sinful things, which that of course is a big mitzvah when you push it away, but even when it comes to permissible things. You want to, like we said, you want to do something, you want to eat, you want to talk something, you want to listen to the news, everything which is 100% kosher. But the fact that we do what we do is because it's us. It's I want to do it. And the I is something which is selfish, which is not godly. And that is why it is important to change the I, and to give a little sacrifice to Hashem. And the Alter Rebbe stresses the fact that even if it's a tiny little bit, a little moment, you push it off. And at that time when you push off, you're doing something godly, you study Torah, you're doing something positive. At that moment, you just created a tremendous light above in heaven, because you just pushed off the I, the selfishness, and you gave it to Hashem. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that this creates a tremendous, powerful light above, and who is the beneficiary from this light is mainly you, because it helps you to be able to change more and to become a better person, a godly person. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says today. Says the Alter Rebbe, furthermore, not only by fighting his evil thoughts does one subdue the sitra achra, the evil inclination, but even in matters that are fully permissible. Kol masha odam zeveach yitzroi afilu shor kala umiskaven lekafel sitra achasha bechol asmali. Every act of sacrificing one's impulse, even if only for one short while, meaning if he delays partaking of even the permissible and essential, and he does that with the intention of subduing the sitra acha. You're pushing off, you're delaying the food, not because you want to lose weight or whatever reason, which is okay. But here the point is, when you're doing something with intention to subduing the sitra acha, subduing the other side, the selfishness, in the left part of his heart. So this achieves this end. And it brings the example. For example, when he wants to eat but delays his meal for an hour or less. And during that time, he studies Torah. So you're delaying your things that you desire, and you're doing godly things. Obviously, we're talking about not in if this can affect your health. Certainly, the health is number one, as we learned in the Torah studies this week, that we are supposed to work with our animal soul, not to break it. The health, you have to be healthy and to serve Hashem with the body. But we're talking about issues that you can do without affecting your health. And one of the other example is that the Rebbe is going to say, but speaking, that's much easier, that's much more relevant to us when it comes to talk, just to talks that you feel good about. And Alter Rebbe brings the example from the Gemara. As the Gemara states, the 4th hour of the day is when all men eat, but the 6th hour of the day, the 6th hour is the mealtime for the scholars. Because they would go hungry for 2 hours with this intention. It's not that they wanted to gain more time of studying Torah, because they would study before and after anyway. That's what Alter Rebbe says. Although even after the meal, they would study all day. And now, as the other example that Alter Rebbe brings is about shutting your mouth. You want to say something pleasurable, and you contain yourself. You delay it. Similarly, if one restrains his mouth from saying things which he greatly desires to say concerning mundane matters. And we're not talking about bad things. We're not talking about talking bad about someone. We're talking about mundane matters. You want to talk about the news. You want to talk about whatever you want to talk about that makes you, gives you pleasure. And likewise regarding the thoughts of his mind. You have certain thoughts, you want to think about something pleasurable, and you just tell yourself, I'm going to think about those things, but let me think about God for a minute. Let me think about words of Torah for this minute. You just gave a sacrifice to Hashem. Says the Alter Rebbe, even by the slightest subjugation, the iskafia sitra achra latata, the slightest subjugation of the sitra achra here below, when you istalek yekoro de kuchabrichu, or gdushasoi le'ilahame, the glory of God and His holiness is greatly elevated on high. And here goes the Alter Rebbe saying that who is the beneficiary mainly of this great light, the holiness? It affects you, it affects the person himself. He becomes more holy. From this holiness, a sublime holiness issues forth upon the man below, to assist him with a great and powerful aid in his service of God. So that itself can be an unbelievable advice when a person feels that he has a difficult time in attaining spiritual growth. So here the Alter Rebbe gives advice. Do a little sacrifice. Delay your thought, delay your speech. Do in those moments of when you delay something, when you have self-discipline, think about Hashem, think about words of Torah. That gives you a boost of energy, of spiritual energy, that you will be able to continue and do the right thing spiritually. This is what our sages meant when they said, if a man consecrates himself in a small measure here below, he is sanctified greatly from above. And that says the Alter Rebbe, this is in addition to the fact that there is a positive mitzvah. There's a mitzvah that a person should sanctify himself with permissible things. That when a person wants to eat something, you have to do it in a sanctified way. And that mitzvah applies not to the tzaddikim, just like we said before, there is the joy, the pleasure that Hashem has from people who have an evil inclination and they fight them. Tzaddikim, righteous people, don't have the evil inclination. When they eat eat only for godly sakes. But when the average person that has the selfish desires to eat and to do whatever for selfish reasons, and when we do them, we sanctify ourselves. We do them and say we eat it for the right purpose. So that's an additional thing that you just perform the mitzvah. Says the Alter Rebbe Levad, this is apart from the fact that when one sanctifies himself in permissible matters, he thereby fulfills the positive commandment of the Torah, sanctify yourself and be holy. Now says the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe brings the verse that says, V'hiskadishtem v'yisem kedoshim. Sanctify yourself and be holy. Seemingly, it seems to be redundant. Say v'hiskadishtem, sanctify and be holy. So isn't that the same? And the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that we can learn this verse as follows. V'hiskadishtem means make yourselves holy. Meaning, even if you know the fact that you're not holy, you know that you have a Yetzer Hara, you know that you have the evil inclination. Holy means nullified to godliness. But the Torah tells you, you do your part. You do even a tiny little bit. When you do this, then Hashem says, V'yisem kedoshim. It's like a promise. Hashem says, I promise you that you will be holy. Meaning the first part, V'hiskadishtem, sanctify yourself, is a commandment. The second part of the verse, V'yisem kedoshim, is like a promise. When you do your little part to sanctify yourself, I promise you that you will be holy. This is what the Alter Rebbe says, V'hiskadishtem shetasu atzmechem kedoshim. The meaning of sanctify yourself is you shall make yourself holy. Koloima, meaning, that is to say, afshe be'emes einay kadosh. Although, in truth, one is not holy, umuvdel mesitra acha, and separated from the sitra acha. Why? Because the evil in him is in full strength. Ki betokfo b'gvuraso ketelareto b'chalalas maleh. Because the sitra acha, the other side of his animal soul, is still as at birth, at its full strength and might in the left part of his heart. Yet, even while at this level, he subdues and masters his evil impulse and makes himself holy. Separate from the sitra acha, then the verse continues, V'yisem kedoshim. You will be holy. So the second part is a promise. Kaloima, that is to say, Soifoi Liya is Kadesh Muvdal Be'emes Masitra Acha, that ultimately he will be truly holy and removed from the Sitra Acha. How? Through this being, through his being greatly sanctified from above, as the Gemara says, we quoted before from the Gemara. And through his being aided from above to expel the Sitra Acha from his heart, little by little, that little by little will be able to get rid of the Sitra Acha. So that even in his heart, he will no longer have the desire for anything originating in the realms of the Sitra Acha, almost like a tzaddik. So this is the end of today's shir. And the takeaway, of course, is the end of chapter 27, and the ability, the value in delaying gratifications. And the focus should be maybe not so much on food, because eating is, we're supposed to be healthy, we're supposed to eat in time. But when it comes to other things, thoughts, speech, what shows you watch, we're talking about, obviously they have to be watching the right shows, the kosher shows, but also the kosher shows you delay and say, let me study 5 minutes Torah, then I'll do it. You're doing a tremendous sacrifice, and you have no idea how much you're gaining. This is the end of today. We'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. All the best.